Good day, family, and welcome back to my channel. Before we get started, please take a second and tap the thumbs up button right below the view, and then tap that little bell over to the right of it. Now let's jump into the video. In today's video, we'll be talking about a young man that some would say wasn't loved by anyone. Robert Yummy Sandifer. Yummy was born on March 12, 1983 in Chicago, Illinois, to his mother, Lorena Sandifer. Lorena was an 18-year-old mother of three at the time who struggled with drug abuse and fell into prostitution to support her habits. His father, Robert Atkins, wasn't present due to him being in prison for various drugs and weapon charges. Throughout Lorena's life, she had been arrested over 30 times for prostituting, and many of which was drug-related. She also had a long history of run-ins with the state's Child Protective Services, and it was said she periodically lost and regained custody of her children all the time. At 22 months old, during one of Lorena's Child Protective Service visits, an examination was performed on Yummy, and it showed that he had cigarette burns on his arm and neck, as well as stick-like bruises, as if someone had beaten him with an extension cord. When confronted by Child Services, he initially blamed his father, but later stated that that was a lie. And on other occasions, his sister was brought into the emergency room with burns on her genitals. Lorena claimed that she had fell on a radiator, but due to the severity and position of the injuries, the nurses knew that that was impossible. Reports say that Lorena wasn't even stable enough to meet her own needs, let alone meet the needs of her kids. By the time Yummy was 3, he and his siblings were removed from his mother's custody after police found them in the house alone with no supervision, and was sent to live with their grandmother, Jane Fields, in the Roseland neighborhood of Chicago. The grandmother's residence contained over 19 children on some occasions, and by most accounts her home was not much better than his mother's. With her house being so full of other children, it made it very easy for a 6-year-old Yummy to sneak away whenever he wanted to and go wherever he pleased. In Yummy's younger age, he loved to swim, draw, and he loved cars. He also loved chocolate chips and Oreo cookies, hence where he got his name Yummy from. By the age of 8, Yummy gave up on school and turned to the gang and criminal life. Yummy looked up to the gang members, so he decided to join the Black Disciples, which meant to Yummy, who already liked love and nourishment, that he now had a place that he belonged to, sort of like a family. This is exactly what the gang members preyed upon: young black males who were poor, no family or friends, and no education, with little opportunities. The Black Disciples, older or higher ranking members, knew that despite any crime that Yummy would commit, the worst he would get was a slap on the wrist or be sent to a juvenile detention center. Yummy went from stealing to robbing houses, to stealing cars and racking up an extensive criminal record. In January 1992, he was arrested for unknown charges, and later that year, at the age of 9, he was prosecuted for a robbery, but the case was dropped when the witness didn't show up. In June of 1993, he was among several other defendants charged in a case of auto theft and arson, in which one case was dropped, but the other one he pled guilty to and was sentenced to 2 years probation while he was only 10 years old. Then, in June of 1994, Yummy was taken from his grandmother's house after being caught driving a stolen car and was committed to the Lawrence Hall Youth Service Maryville Academy, a home for neglected and abused children. But Yummy quickly escaped and fled back to the streets. By the time he was 11, he had been charged with 23 felonies and 5 misdemeanors. August 28, 1994, one of the high-ranking gang members ordered Yummy to do a gang favor, so he put a 9mm semi-automatic pistol in his hand and told him he needed to take out 2 of the rival gang members, who they were at war with at the time. Standing at 4 feet 6 inches tall, weighing about 68 pounds, Yummy approached a group of boys standing at the South Park Avenue around 6:30 p.m. and asked another kid what gang he was affiliated with. When a kid told him he wasn't in a gang, Yummy pulled out the gun he was given and at near point-blank range opened fire. As a young kid started to run, he was struck in the stomach and in the spinal cord. Yummy knew everyone was watching at the time, so he quickly ran off before the police arrived. Once the police got there, one of the officers went to the kid and asked, "Who shot you?" In which he replied, "Yummy was the one that shot me." As soon as the officers were about to call in Yummy as a suspect of the shooting, he received word that there had been another shooting around the corner on 108th Street. Yummy had reemerged and unloaded his gun wildly into a crowd of kids that were playing football. One bullet would strike a young man named Sammy, in the leg and another would hit Siobhan Latrice Dean, that was 30 feet from her doorstep, in the head. The young lady was rushed to the Roslyn Community Hospital, and in less than an hour, she was pronounced dead. Siobhan was a 14-year-old young lady that was said to have a bright future. Reports stated that she always had a smile on her face and was always happy. After Yummy ran out of bullets, he fled the scene again. By midnight, August 29th, the Chicago police was working with the FBI agents investigating and frantically searching for Yummy. Detectives followed up with relatives, known neighbors, and tips that had been given of Yummy's whereabouts. After a few days of not finding him, Yummy's case became a huge headline for media outlets and the news. Dozens of police officers, tactical units, gang crime officers, and detectives joined the search for Yummy as far as Milwaukee, nearly 2 hours away. Now, it was stated that Yummy's grandmother, Janie, reportedly said she received 3 calls earlier that week from someone who hung up without saying anything. So she went out and bought a caller ID device, and later that night, Yummy called her on the payphone. She stated Yummy asked, "Is the police looking for me?" When she replied, "You haven't done anything wrong, just let me come get you." But when she pulled up, he wasn't there. And with all the news and attention Yummy's case was bringing, the Black Disciples crew leader got worried that if Yummy was caught or turned himself in, he would definitely squeal to the police. On August 31st, 1994, the gang leader ordered 2 brothers, Greg Hardaway, who was 16, and Derek Hardaway, who was 14, to get rid of Yummy. The 2 brothers drove around the city and spotted Yummy sitting on the neighbor's porch at Southeast Brook Avenue. Derek approached Yummy and told them that they were on their way out of town and to come get in the car so they could put him in hiding so the police wouldn't find him. Once Yummy got in the car, the brothers rode around to a tunnel tag with graffiti and told him to get out and get on his knees. Once he was down, Craig took out his gun and shot him twice in the back of the head. 3 days later, Yummy's lifeless and bloody body was found under the railroad tracks on 108th Street near College Grove Avenue. Over 400 mourners came out to the Youth Center Church of God in Christ to say goodbye and reflect on the short life of Yummy. He lay in a small coffin with a stuffed teddy bear beside him, and on that same day he was supposed to start 6th grade. Thankfully, Chicago gave Siobhan Latrice Davis a splendid funeral. Over 800 family members, friends, civil rights figures, and more showed up to her funeral, while she lay there in her white casket wearing her white dress with her black silky hair curled the way she always liked it. And as far as the Hardaway brothers, they were both found guilty, with Craig being sentenced to 60 years, Derek being sentenced to 45 years at such a young age. All these young children's lives were taken away. Yummy's death was the 637th murder in Chicago that year. Thanks a lot for watching. That will bring this sad story to an end. Please make sure you like and subscribe and leave a comment on what you think of this story. Do you think Yummy was doomed from the start? Or do you think if he had a positive role model in his life, he would still be alive? Let me know down in the comment. And until next time, peace and blessings to you.